Let me tell you a story. While I was a senior year in high school, a lot of my classmates were very busy partying at the time, trying to arrange meetings, spending time, spending money, very typical teenager stuff at the point. While all of this was raging, I was very busy studying for the exams that I had coming up. I was fatigued, I was desperate. I wished nothing more really than wait for the clock to tick down and I can just rest my work from high school really. That's the only thing that's occupying my thoughts. I had a very different mindset back then. Just the thought of joining the parties with my classmates, to be honest, they kind of disgusted me. It's kind of weird to say that, but just joining these seemingly meaningless parties, it just with just degenerate people, it really just disgusted me. Right? What am I gaining from it? I'm going to not going to get anything from the parties. You could say that I was just busy building my so-called empire, these great ambitions that I had about studying high classy university, just get a really good job and really well paid, right? That was kind of the mindset that I had back then. Truly at that time, I just believed that my classmates that were really just partying and being full on degenerates, I really thought of them as kind of subhuman, not really prioritizing higher long term goals, but just chasing short pleasures. That's at least something a true narcissist will say. I didn't really have any true friends in the class. So if even if I were to go out, I would just end up being alone or just dragged by with other people. Like you kind of get that being at a party and alone. It just sucks. Eventually, the so-called armistice sets in. Right, I get my report card. I got stellar grades. I'm heading off to finance school in the capital. Unbeknownst to me, that that was just the killing field, my slaughter awaiting me at the capital. Something that I've noticed over the years is that whilst being with other students who are very focused on getting high grades and being this top-notch class, if you don't know already, students with very high grades are very narcissistic themselves, just like how I behave myself. Their kind of jokes, their kind of remarks, what they're talking about is kind of underlying tone that they are somehow superior to you because they got really high grades and they naturally think that high grades equals high IQ. For many of those students who are just narcissistic bastards, really, grades is all that they got. Outside of academics, they're not really stellar, don't really get along with other people, except that they kind of get along with other students who are also just narcissists, but you also got this very competing tone in between them. They're not really a true friend, but it's rather that they find pleasure in other people who are just similar to them. Similarly, this was also the case for me. The good grades that I got, it was kind of my comfort. Just getting the praise about being a good student, it kind of comforts you. You're just seeking attention from your parents, kind of seeking attention from others, but you don't really get it unless you prove it to yourself. Grades is just simply our comfort in this kind of insecure sphere. You read, you study very much, and you get called a very good student. But in all honesty, the reason why, for example, I studied so hard as I did, because I didn't really feel like attending to any kind of parties, right? I didn't want to hang out with people. I just saw other people as just subhuman, right? It's really disgusting terminology to talk about other people. When you are in a very hyper competitive sphere and you just want to outwork other people, constantly looking at other people's result, that kind of environment just shapes you into becoming this hard, stone cold, machine like human, even though it's not necessarily your intentions, but it's kind of a defense mechanism. Even more insulting in my kind of perspective was that I didn't even have a great vision with my grades, right? It was just all about getting the high results just to potentially get somewhere later. Although my grades were really great, I just ended up railing off, right? Because I've just been pushed so hard about get good grades and things will just solve themselves, right? Here you got me like an A grade student, B grade student, excellent grades, right? But you just get derailed from your plan because you haven't really focused on what kind of purpose you want to do with these kind of remarks. I just know many other students who are similar in my positions that they got excellent remarks, they got an excellent platform to keep on moving with their life. There are just so many students without any purpose. You've done everything that they wanted from you. Even though school doesn't really prepare you for anything, you get lessons, but you can just cheese it. Nowadays, you just get AI. You can just have so many tools to do the work for you. You just read really hard 1 week before the test, and you get, if you're memorizing really good, you can get a really good grade. You can just cheese school nowadays. It's so simple. It doesn't really matter. I'm not saying that school isn't important. It's work for your brain. Just working to get really high grades and just nothing else. It'll just become busy work. You just do it, but you're not really finding any purpose in your work, and it feels like kind of whatever. I just know very many students who have excellent potential, but they cannot handle their own situation. Just end up peaking in high school, and then it just simply goes downward from there. You don't have any great work to do anymore. You just drift around, just react to whatever life gives you, right? There's no conviction in the type of work that you do. To my other students who are also having very good grades but not really compassionate about doing other things in life, don't end up with this kind of lifestyle. Don't suddenly hit your peak in academics and not evolve further from it. Don't settle for a very boring life, just doing kind of busy work, not really minding what other things are going on with your life. Living a life without a purpose will lead to stagnation. You'll kind of get this flat curve that you have in your life and slight improvements when you get like a pay promotion from your boss because you've just been a really good boy, just like at school. You get this high grade just to feel love and validation from other people. It's just repeating in that loop going in between. It's either the grades in school or the pay promotion in the work. Don't end up in a life with this kind of stagnation. Don't be tricked by your seniors having given you this sort of advice that the only thing in life that's a constant is that wealth is just slowly build up at a time. You build up your resources just slowly, and you have to find a way just to kind of fit in with the other seniors. Don't take advice from people who have not the same ambitions from you. Many people who are giving advice for you for free don't even have the things that you really want from life anyways. How can you trust people who have never fought for the things that you want? It's ludicrous. You have to listen to people that give you the information that you need to progress in life. It's the only thing that will get you out of the stagnation. Their advice, although they can say some good things, but most often the advice that you get from seniors who have not reached their potential have shit advice. You are not like these people because, simply put, you have greater visions than these people. They're not sharp. They're a dull knife. You don't use it, just an asset that can be replaced by other people. And you don't want to be like this. Something that I've noticed while working as a nursing student is that most often when I ask people, either my same age or my peers, most often when I ask them about their kind of goals and inspirations, like what they do, what they work for, right? When I ask this kind of people, they all just give the same boring answer. They just, oh, I'm going to save up money to buy a house. I'm going to find a girlfriend, get married, get a child. Just very basic, bare bone needs, right? I just always have the same reaction to those kind of boring answers, and that's okay. But then what? What do you get after that? I don't necessarily say it because I don't want to be rude. I just observe. Like, they're really nice things, right? But it's just surface level. They're important. Like, you need a house to, like, physically live, right? But when you get a house, what are you going to do then? Like, what kind of goals do you have that transcend your own living? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want to be remembered for? When they give some boring answers like that, is simply because they don't work with a purpose. They don't work to a higher goal, trying to transcend and trying to get better in life. I don't think these people have really thought hard about what they really want from life. Simply put, the reason why they answer a house, or they want to be a father, or oh, I want to take a loan to buy that car, right? The only thing that I believe people are answering things like this is simply because these assets are just put on you. They're expectations from other people, and most likely parents. How typical isn't that, right? If you're a girl, late 20s, just starting your 30s, right? Isn't it expected? If you're single, don't you think that your parents would be pushy? Like getting pushy about getting a boyfriend and getting engaged, getting children before it's too late, right? Don't you think they're trying to be pushy about that? Even though they're not necessarily her goals, but other people are expecting it. It's kind of that dynamic I'm telling you about. The house, the car, the children eventually are simply assets that people are pushing onto you, and you just feel conditioned that you have to fulfill these goals. It's just the same thing as being a top grade student. Study hard, and if you have a purpose with them, great. But if you don't have any purpose with these kind of grades, the act of getting high grades is simply a form for validation. You want to be praised. My understanding of purpose is that it's a concept of layers, or rather stages in your life, right? Have you ever noticed that as long as you have gotten older, like from childhood to teenager to adult, have you noticed that you get different interests? So for example, if you are a kid, right, the only thing you really care about might be friendship, right? You want friends in kindergarten. Maybe you want to save up on money to buy that console that you all wanted, right? That toy car, right? Very basic, simple needs. If you're a teenager, it might be girls. You are training to win that very important match, sports, like training really hard because you want to win that local championship, right? That's the purpose for that period. Maybe get good grades. And when you're adult, you think a lot more about finance, right? Because you feel the pressure about paying bills, because we're broke. so you think a lot more about business and money. That's at least in my case. Your focus shifts over time. And it's kind of the same with the purpose as well. It's layers, and as soon as you get one layer done, you're focusing about the next thing that will precede you in life. The core of the problems is very far off. It's very hard to comprehend. It's very hard to just simply think about why you are existing, right? It's very hard to answer that. Most people simply react to the environment that they're in, and that could simply be great enough, right? But you have to have conviction about the work you're doing. I like to think of it as a video game. When you're a beginner, you need to pick the easier courses. You need to pick the tutorial. Layers, as soon as you try to work on them, work with good intentions to achieve the goals that you have in this kind of purpose, you'll develop the skills and you'll develop the mindset that you will be ready for level 2. Kind of thick core of purposes that you have. You'll peel off one layer after the other, and eventually you'll reach the middle, which is kind of the ultimate goal. Like, why are we living? That's kind of purpose that you're working on. For instance, my thing, that's simply level 1 right now. It's this. It's the importance of getting up, simply start recording videos, make my imprint on YouTube with these kind of videos. That's kind of the stage that I'm in right now. It's the only thing that I'm really focused on, and it's the only thing that's really important right now. Other matters are not as important. Making YouTube videos is like one thing. It gives me the purpose of simply working. That's one thing. It gives me the purpose of helping other people, and it also gives the purpose of like long-term financial goals. The way that this is different from other types of work, right? I worked as a nurse as well. The thing there is that when you do work, it's the mindset that you have developing these skills that will really matter. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a leader. The reason why I make these videos and why I'm so vigorous about self-improvement is simply put because I've been in the same miserable positions that many young men are stuck in this kind of position. I don't buy into being viral. I don't buy into trends. I don't want to appear in a mood that's not really authentic to me because it will simply be fake. I'm all about getting work done, trying to prevent young, talented people getting in the rut. When I frame the work that I am a YouTuber, that's one thing. But when you say that I'm a leader who speaks on YouTube and my goal is to prevent suicide in young men, I want young men to transcend and develop their own sets of skills. When you frame your work and give affirmations about how important your work really is, that's when you get a whole new perspective of it. The purpose is there to justify the work that you do. I would say the most important thing is to pick one and only one thing, because if you pick too many, it's not going to work. It'll be too much to comprehend, too much to work on. Pick one thing that you will believe is the most beneficial for your own development right now. And it has to be simple enough that you could do it with the resources that you have available right now. So for me, it's simply about doing work. That's the only thing that I care about. And I want you to have this kind of mindset as well. When you truly believe your work is important, the habit will set itself. Get to work, bro. Stay strong. Work on.